Hello, everyone. My name is David Reed. I appreciate you tuning in for another episode of Dial the Gate, episode 249. This episode is very special for me because I am finally getting to catch up with someone whom I go way back with, Mr. Ben Browder, Cameron Mitchell on Stargate SG-1. You may know him as John Crichton in Farscape. Ben, how's it going, man? It's so good to see you again. I appreciate you being here.
It's good to see you, David. It's been a minute.
I know, man.
It's just yeah. Well, water keeps flowing under this bridge.
Right? That's a good thing. How has life been treating you? How is family? How are things going in your world? We've had a pandemic. We've had a few things since we last met up at Comic-Con. What's been going on?
A lot for everybody in the world, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah. What's been going on? The family has grown. I'm waiting for somebody to deliver some younger generation for me to corrupt. First time we spoke, I think my one of my kids probably wasn't even in grade school yet.
This, yeah, it was 2005 or something. How they grow,
Okay, yeah,
man. And now they're
they
flying
were
planes.
they were in grade school. One of them is flying planes. One of them the Air Force took, and the other one is in Hollywood, working, writing and producing. So they're
Wow.
they're they're doing fine. They're both married. They're both
Ah.
grown people, and I'm waiting for them to come take care of me.
Absolutely, man. I remember you have, I produced a conversation that you had with Christopher Judge and Beau Bridges talking about how the Air Force, I'll never forget this line, she do take her slice.
Yeah, the Air Force, the DoD do take a slice, man. Be careful what you promise is all I can say.
Man.
But yeah, he's loving his life, and my daughter loves what she does, and so they figured it out despite all of the bad influences that I gave them.
Please thank him
Yeah,
for his service for me.
yeah, yeah. You know what? You pay his paycheck. You're good. You're good. You're solid. Yeah. So I mean, that's happened. We went through the pandemic, which
Yeah.
I think was terrible for everybody in one way or another. Worse for some in California than those in Tennessee, where you are now. Uh,
It's been a
that
wild
is
ride.
that is if you wanted to go outside and go for a walk.
Yeah, well, I mean, per population per square mile, I've got more room out here. I actually spent most of it in Phoenix, and it was fun. Real quick story, we were one of the first states that opened, and then everyone and their mother came from all the other states, and surprise, Arizona shoots to number one in the nation for COVID, and everyone's like, "Well, how did this happen?" It's like, "Well, I don't know. Maybe everyone decided to come vacation here." Oh,
Yeah,
gosh,
it was interesting. It was the Chinese interesting times.
man,
On that, so yeah, life is good.
good.
Family's good. Work is sporadic. But I'm not complaining about my life. It's been okay. You know, I'm not suffering.
There you go, man. There you go. And
I
you've
should,
done.
maybe I should. Maybe I need to suffer a little more, and the
Be
art will come
careful
to me.
what you wish for. I
Oh, it's
know.
always coming. There's always, the dark clouds are always on the horizon. I don't know that there's anything we can do about that. That's the cycle of nature.
Some information came out long after I interviewed you about some of the offers that came before. Either that or I was just oblivious, which is entirely possible. You were offered, my understanding is you were offered the role of Sheppard for Atlantis. Is there truth to that?
That's the rumor. That's what I heard.
Okay.
But I was shooting the Farscape miniseries when they were firing that up. So I think I was probably maybe on their list because they did pick me up for Cameron Mitchell afterwards.
Okay.
But it wasn't like I turned it down.
Right. Yeah. Well, you were preoccupied with ending one of the more wacky, cool sci-fi series that have been produced. So I
Yeah,
get
we
it.
were trying to finish it. We were trying to finish a story. So
Yeah.
I
Absolutely.
was otherwise engaged.
For sure. And did you stay in Australia after that production was done, or did you return to the States?
No, Australia kicked us out the minute our visa expired.
Okay.
An actor is not actually a qualified immigrant status in Australia. If I'd been a taxi cab driver, I probably could have stayed, but the immigration law around the world is always a little funky.
Yeah.
I would have. Australia was great. It was a great place to raise kids. I would have loved to. I think I would have loved to have stayed there. I don't know that I could have made a living there,
I see.
but
Had your ticket been open ended for that country, you would have considered changing your citizenship.
well, we no, I wouldn't.
Okay.
Yeah, no, but
Hmm.
as an immigrant, I think dual citizenship is possible these
Hmm.
days. So used to be you'd have to give up your American passport. I
Right.
don't think I would have done that, but living there, the kids were there,
Right.
and my kids are dual passport holders anyway because my wife is English.
Ah,
Um,
okay. Yes. Yeah, I know a
yeah.
few of those as well. That's quite an advantage for sure.
Yeah,
So,
they might have been able to stay, but I was pretty sure Australia wasn't going to let me stay. So,
yeah, your utility has run out. You know,
you
put a few
know,
more quarters in the meter.
fair
So,
fair dinkum, fair dinkum.
what was it like looking back? And we're going to get to the creme de la creme here fairly soon with Antarctica. What was it like um, stepping into this thing that, I mean, you're getting on board a moving train for season 9. As we both know, that's bonus land. You know, if we've managed to get to a 9th season in science fiction, that's like,
Mm.
all right then. You know, what was it like joining that team and getting the feel for how they worked, for Christopher Judge's antics, for everything?
We're digging deep into the memory, the memory sockets right now. Some of those wires are a bit frayed. My memory of it is that it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed the cast. I still enjoy the cast. I
Mm.
still like being around them. I appreciate them even more as I get older. Um, I saw Rick and Mike and Amanda in Germany last year, and they're smart, entertaining, engaging people. The cast was great. I still touch base with some of the producers and
Mhm.
writers on occasion. When I run into people who are on the show, it was a great experience. It was a lot of fun. They had their thing the way they did it, and my job was to come in and be helpful and non-obtrusive in a lot of ways. So which is why I watched the show before I went on to the show. To go, so what is it you do, and how can I help? I wasn't trying to take over anything.
Yeah.
I was just trying to find a way to slot into to how they tell stories about going through the gate. So for me, it was fun. It was difficult because I was traveling back and forth between Los Angeles and Vancouver because my kids were in school. That part, the travel part, was hard on a personal level, but the rest of it was great.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I can't imagine, keeping up with all of that, especially with children. I mean, did they give you an apartment? Did you have something in Vancouver so you could?
I had an apartment which was part of the deal
Yeah.
making process. So otherwise I'd have been on the streets in Vancouver. So they had been picking me up in Gastown. Uh, that probably wouldn't do too well. I had an apartment.
What was it like shooting that 200th episode? I've had long conversations with everyone about this, and it seems to me like it was 3 or 4 episodes in one in terms of production. The number of locations, the number of different sketches that were all in production and to make this thing happen. It just must have been a frenzy to shoot.
It was a busy and big episode, but it was a lot of fun. And I think, episodes like that, which are kind of taking a look at themselves. It's a meta episode, so it's for the fans first, but it's also for the people who work on the show. It's for the crew, it's for the writers, it's for the actors to kind of take a look at yourself and make fun of yourself. And you get Rick back, you get all the crazy stuff, you get the puppets, you get to. Are you hearing my ding in the background?
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, nah, it's notifications. I never get any notifications, and suddenly I'm talking to you, and it's like, what's going on a Sunday morning? Yeah, I think that those are just fun episodes, and they poke fun at me and Claudia. Everybody got their chance to have some fun poked at them, and I think that's a great thing. Occasionally, just to step outside the frame for a minute, and then you can step back in the frame.
No, it's one of my favorites. And I remember Brad saying, people are either going to like this thing or they're going to hate it. And it's a balance when you turn around and point the finger at yourself, because people can be like, hey, you're not that big a deal. Or wait a second. No, they really do get what they're creating. So much of this show really is comedic, and they just turn all those dials up to 11 for this episode.
Yeah, I don't think anyone gets off scot-free from the laser being pointed at them. Not even the fans, because this is going, oh, here's what the fans want, so we're going to give them this, and then we're going to walk away from it. But everybody was fair game in that, so I thought it was good-hearted and generous. And the fact is that there is no single episode of any TV show which is for everyone. So if you get a good chunk of people that enjoy the episode, then you've done your job.
Tell me about Claudia Black. Tell me about working with her as an actor and as a person, and getting to who would have thought, on another continent, another hemisphere, get to do it all over again for 2 more years.
Claudia is a maximally talented actor, and she's a good human being, and she's a friend. So getting to work with Claudia again at any time, anywhere, was a privilege and would be a privilege.
One of the best episodes of that run, there are a few of them, but Bounty is one of my favorites, because it finally puts the two of you together in a buddy situation. And it was, for instance, the casting of Anne-Marie Deloise to bring her in as Amy Vandenberg, who we had heard about in the show, and to kind of put her there in the midst of this thing with Claudia running around. That was a great episode, and I understand why it took them a little while to get around to putting the two of you together, because they wanted to, make the distinction that this was not together like romantically, but together like in a scene, in a longer episode, because they were trying to make this show its own thing. But man, that was funny. That was good stuff.
I'm glad you enjoyed it. Yeah, and I got to work with Claudia for a while. So yeah, because Claudia and I had a shorthand for working together, and we worked, I think, reasonably well on screen together. There was good chemistry. So I think that when you bring two leads from one show into another show, it's a bold decision, and I think the decision to keep us apart was probably wise for a while.
Was there anything that you as an actor had to wrap your brain around with this particular franchise that took a little longer to bring you up to speed than Farscape? I can understand you sitting down and watching the entire pantheon of the show to get a good grasp of it, but or was it just another another excellent sci-fi show to be a part of? Was there anything that you had to, adjust to, be it like like the velocity of the schedule, or the complexity of the visual effects, the lack of puppets?
Definitely the lack of puppets is a problem. Um, I I think the I think that the difficult thing when you go to a new show is making the recognition up front that it has a different style and it has a different focal point. And the Farscape was very John Crichton centric. It was very relationship centric, and it was weird in many ways. And it was much more serialized than Stargate, which Stargate has the capacity with the gate and with the next adventure to tell more episodic style stories. But I think that the biggest thing when I joined the show was which I think I recognized early on when I watched the show, was that it's Stargate. It's about the gate. It's about the adventure that the gate takes you to. And so knowing that it's not centered on a character per se, so recognizing that was the important thing, sort of thematically speaking. Anytime you go to a new show, you're dealing with a different rhythm, you're dealing with a different crew, you're dealing with a different dynamic, you're dealing with a different way that people communicate. And then, Canada's different from America, that's different from England, that's different from Australia. So there's a lot of small things. We share a lot of common language, but sometimes we're divided by those languages. So gaining the understanding of, well, how does this crew work is a process, and you just have to be you have to kind of reset what you think and then relearn. And because what happens in our lives is we get this point where we've got our instincts and we've got our understanding of how things operate. And so we have a shortcut in our head that goes, okay, this is this, and you have to kind of reframe your shortcuts. There's much heuristic would be a bigger word for it, but I like shortcut. So you have to change your internal heuristics or shortcut to deal with what's in front of you, not what you're used to. And that's kind of the journey. That's kind of the journey through life as we go. The world's going to change on us, and the rules are going to change. And my goodness, I'm going to need my phone when I travel. What?
For everything. If you lose it, you're done.
I mean, it's literally, and I had this discussion with one of my kids. We were traveling, and they turned to me and said, "How did you travel before phones?" I said, "What do you mean? How did I travel before phones?" "Well, how do you know where to go?" I go, "We had these things called maps, and we would look at the map, and we would look up in the index, and then we do that, and then we'd step out into the daylight, and we dead reckon our way according to which way the sun was beaming, and somehow we ended up in the right place." So we're constantly in life, if we're hoping to be successful, trying to reframe our shortcuts and how we navigate the world. And it's the same going on a set. So it's kind of, you got to be open to the experience and be a little humble when you travel through the world, because everything's going to change.
For sure. And I do love that the later seasons of the show, it became more an ensemble. And it's not that, I mean, Rick was Rick, I mean, when he's on, it's like, yeah, you want to suck that all in. And yeah. The seasons 9 and 10 were I think it was more of an opportunity for everyone to really shine equally. And it expanded those characters a lot. And I think Mitchell just helped raise them all. So, because he was interested in each of them as people. He wanted to join them.
It's an interesting question about TV shows in general. If you're on a TV show and you have one character who can carry, so you got Rick in the beginning, and Rick was an experienced actor. He's a charismatic actor. He's smart about stuff, and he's kind of endlessly entertaining. And he had a cast surrounding him who were very smart, very charismatic, but they didn't have the wealth of experience and background that Rick did. So of course you're going to center it on Rick, but by the time you get to season 8, you have another. And by the time we get to season 9, we have 5 characters in 6 characters, 6 actors in the show who ostensibly can carry an entire episode. That's rare in television. That's really rare, particularly, you know. And so you add Claudia. Claudia can carry. You've got Amanda, Mike, and Chris who can carry. You add Beau Bridges who can carry. And so now you've got 6 or 7 characters who can carry entire episodes, as opposed to the beginning where you had Rick and then you had other actors learning, right? So it becomes a rare thing for a show where you have that many actors that can carry a storyline. And so you're allowed to expand out, and you know, you've got to be cognizant of the fact that when you're in that situation, every day is not going to be all about you and your character. It's going to be about the ensemble. It's going to be about the show. It's going to be about the center of the show, which is the gate.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the more amazing experiences that you were offered was this little trip to the Arctic. And I've prepared a little surprise for you. Let me see if I can bring that person in here. Give me just one moment.
Oh my.
Barry Campbell.
The Navy makes an appearance.
I've just surfaced, and I just wondered if you were going to recognize me without my fur hat on.
Well, I did see you in San Diego afterwards.
Oh, that's right. You know, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, and you still have a hat on, so you know.
Yeah. I try to.
We can show our mops. Go ahead. Go for it. So, there you go. I recognize you now. It's Barry Campbell.
Ladies and gentlemen, without this man, Stargate would not have gone to the Arctic for Continuum and given us one of the coolest experiences as an audience. So, Barry, thank you for being here with us for a few minutes and for making that happen, for having the guts to show up to a convention in front of Martin Wood and John Smith and saying, "You want to go to the Arctic?"
I'll tell you, it was just it was a fluke. It was you know, I'm a pretty shy guy. Okay, not, but I made the offer, not knowing whether I could capitalize on it or not. Went back and sold it to my boss, and he sold it to Big Navy, and it worked out.
Barry, did you know that Big Navy was going to like put that background check on all of us? Because every time I went through security at an airport, the several months before and for months afterwards, they searched my bags every single time. What? I didn't realize it went so deep. But this security stuff you guys got going on is real.
There it is. It's the real thing. You know, you hear about it, you see it in the movies, but they're serious. They're serious about the whole thing. Yeah, especially because most of the folks coming up were Canucks.
Yeah, so we had all the Canadians, right? And then and then the other thing is that you know they let us on a nuclear submarine.
You know, the first idea for this was to get about 5 or so people up to the Arctic for an overnight, and maybe let them see a submarine and sign some autographs and take some pictures and then shuffle them away. And it just grew and grew. And I think Martin Wood had Brad Wright had a big part of that because he wrote the script such that the Navy saved the Air Force. And when the Navy saw that, they thought, oh, well, let's just do something here. They said, I said, well, can we get them on the submarine? And they said, well, we'll probably be able to do that. They came back later after that script was there, and they said, do you think they'd like to film on the submarine? And my boss and I thought, sure, they would love it, I guess. So it just blossomed and blossomed.
The whole thing turned into Stargate Navy survival, the survivor in the Arctic. You got there, it was insane. It was 40 below.
Yep.
and 40 below, it doesn't matter if it's Fahrenheit or Celsius. And you just walking from the plywood shed where we slept to the mess hall, your face would freeze. It was insane. We're out there. You got Amanda and I wandering out on the ice, not knowing how thick the ice is, while a helicopter disappears over the horizon. And you're thinking, well, I guess this is real now.
Yeah.
You go out at night to take a leak, and you scan the horizon with your flashlight for eyes, because the polar bears were roaming and hunting on the ice.
Sure.
I was like, who in their right mind thought this was a good idea? It was absolutely astounding. And
I tried to tell people that there's actual danger of death in doing this. It's not just like going on location. It's a whole different thing.
The 2 years before, they had a snowmobile go through the ice into the water.
Right.
And you're not going to survive when you go in the water.
No, you get in that water 15 seconds later. If you're not pulled out, you're frozen.
Oh no, that was insanity. Amanda and I still talk about it. Occasionally I'll send her a picture of us in the Arctic, just to go, can you believe we actually were there? That's insane.
It was tremendous. I was up in the helicopter when they were doing that filming that scene, and the director of photography, his name will come to me. He's got the camera hanging out the door. We made one pass, and he didn't know where you were, and he couldn't get you centered in. So we figured out how to get you centered in the screen. Came by for the second pass. He's okay. I got him there right now. Holy crap! They're making snow angels.
That's true. Ren and I looked at each other and said, we should just do snow angels instead of walk. Like, what are they doing? We're down there on our backs making snow angels in a place that no one would ever be again. It was a phenomenal experience. It was, we could see the northern lights in 360 degrees. It was just, it was awe-inspiring.
I felt for you guys that one, when the submarine was surfacing, they had to make 3 passes in order to surface. Right. And you guys were out there. It was like 40 or 50 below. And you were there for 5 or 6 hours waiting for them to make a successful surfacing. And I was back in the warm hut, in charge of stuff, but in a hut, just wishing I was there with you, but glad I wasn't.
Ben, what did that feel like, with like the ice moving beneath your feet as this thing comes through? What is that experience like?
It was cold.
Yeah.
Could you feel the submarine
impact
the ice?
It was really cold. Yeah, moving around is a good idea in the Arctic. Standing still on the ice is not a good idea.
And getting your back to the wind.
And there's so many little things out there that can go wrong so fast that you're literally hoping you haven't made a mistake. That the first day we did that, where we shot that, I made the mistake that I had left my boots on the floor the night before, and the cold comes up through the floor. Even if the hut is warm, the cold comes through, and it literally freezes your boots.
Anything left on the floor will freeze.
Anything left on the floor will freeze solid. And I just went, you put your boots. I put my boots next to my bunk, and no one had told me, no, you need to put your boots up in your bunk with you. And so when I put the boots on that day, it's cold, and you're kind of rushing out, and they'll warm up, right? No, they don't warm. I about lost a couple of toes that day because I was standing on the ice afterwards. So there's so many little things that you just, for your safety and for your survival, that you kind of have to pay attention to. It's an incredible experience to be in that place. And we had all the help in the world. All we had to do was help clean up. We were doing mess hall, and we were on the mess hall roster for cleanup duty. And you just kind of mix in, and you go, oh, everybody's here to survive together.
Well, I'll tell you what, when I told my staff that we're going to bring actors up and the film crew, they were throwing things at me. Like, we cannot have these people. We can't just babysit these folks all the time. We got work to do. And I try to convince them that, these guys are professional. They will fit in, and they'll do what they need to do, and it'll be fine. and you arrived in like an afternoon before dinner. I remember the first dinner, all the Stargate folks were at one or two tables, and the rest of us were at all the other tables. And by breakfast the next morning, everybody was all mixed together. And by lunch that day, my staff was saying, "Hey, these guys are all right. They erased our names off the KP board so they could get in and do KP. They're out mining ice. Where'd you get these guys?" So it was good.
We went out with the sled. Water for the camp was provided by us going out with pickaxes and putting ice on a sled, and you come back and you melt it so that people can stay hydrated. And we did ice duty, we did KP, we did whatever was available on the roster, because you've got to contribute. You can't be in that kind of environment and be a load on everybody else.
Yeah, it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. I mean, I'll never forget it. I have a few regrets. I wasn't able to get out and play as much as I wanted to because I had to be in charge. But I'll never forget that experience. And part of the thing that I remember most is the look on your guys' face and how much you were enjoying it and how much in awe you were and how much you still remember it. And that really warms my heart.
Yeah, for sure. No, I think we may have lost him there. The memories that you guys take away from this experience, they've got to stick with you forever. You've been given an opportunity like so few people get, and you're just gonna pinch yourself for the rest of your life that you got the chance to do it. So,
yeah, Stargate provided some remarkable opportunities, and between honestly, Barry, I can't actually side completely with the Navy. Because I have a son in the Air Force. But I love the Navy and I love the Air Force. I mean, the Air Force may get a little more of my love just because they're responsible for keeping my young'uns safe right now.
That's cool. I'm okay with that.
You good with it?
I'm good with
it. Absolutely. I did think about though. I never know where he's going to be. Right. Like he won't tell me anything, and then I'll read about it in Stars and Stripes. So literally recently he was down at North Station. He was down working out at North Station for a week, but I read about it in the press. Like, you're at North Station. What are you doing in San Diego? You're at a naval base. They were doing joint operations out of North Station, which is just where you guys
air base. Yeah, North Island Air Base. So yeah.
Yep.
Well, that's cool. What's he do?
He flies. He's a fighter pilot.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. He has my respect. Yep.
Well, he may not deserve it, but I'll give it to
him. Barry, thank you so much for popping in and sharing some memories from that Arctic shoot. It means a lot to have you.
My pleasure. I appreciate the invitation, and I'll talk about this any old time.
Thank you, sir. We'll have you back this season.
Okay,
Thanks,
see you later.
Bye-bye.
Nice to see you, Ben. Take good care.
I mean, how do you get past an experience like that? I mean, it's absolutely an extraordinary one, and you just there are no words. There are no words for a gift like that. To even just 5 or 6 days up there, and I'm sure it changes your perspective on how you view yourself and your place in your world. So,
I'm a remarkably lucky human being.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I didn't make that happen. Right, that just fell in my lap.
Wow, man, oh man. I have some questions from fans here. If okay, let me see here. Jacob Olihars, I'm going to butcher this name, Ben, so please correct me. Can you share your experience working on the film Iké Boys?
Iké Boys.
Iké Boys. I watched it recently, and he says it was excellent. Tell me about this.
Iké Boys, the director of Iké Boys, is a particularly huge Farscape fan.
Oh,
It's a film, a coming of age story set in the 90s about early 2000s about a kid who's really into anime and manga, and so it's a coming of age story which involves sort of fantastical elements. He's a director who had studied in Japan and was living in Japan for years. So he was merging these cultures of Oklahoma and Japan in rural Oklahoma. And it was a beautiful and simple story.
wow.
Well told. So yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. I went to Oklahoma City, Oklahoma, and hung out, and it snowed. Not as cold as the Arctic.
No.
But we don't get a lot of snow here in Los Angeles County. And it was great. And then COVID hit, like literally. It was the beginning of February 2020, and people are coughing in the airport and trying to stay away from one another. Nobody knows what it's about. And I came back and lost my sense of smell.
You did.
I think the whole crew and cast got sick in the filming of it.
Wow.
Yeah, and so I think patient zero for COVID was the cast of Iké Boys. I don't know.
Uh,
It was an interesting time. Yeah, and then the world shut down a month later.
man, oh man. Yeah, and we rode the wave together. You joined the cast at the same time that Beau did for
Yeah.
season 9, and I remember you sharing a story, and I've wanted to ask you about this for years, about an anecdote about Beau, because it's a little bit of inside baseball technical, but it shines a light on his personality. You were talking about filming scenes with him where he would force cuts by
Yes.
by turning or by changing. But can you tell me about this and about working with Beau?
Yeah, Beau's a master.
Yeah.
But Beau's a master. He understands he understands how film and television is made from the inside out, and he grew up in it. I'm sure his dad gave him some tips and tricks.
Yep.
But the minute you got in a scene with Beau, you knew you were wrestling with a bear, because the first scene that I shot with him was the scene in Landry's office, and whatever I thought I was going to do when I came into the scene, I recognized what Beau was doing was forcing the cut to the things that he thought was important. So he comes in, and quite often in Stargate, we're sitting around a table, we're not moving, and Beau says, "You okay if I just move around and set up my office while I'm doing this?" And I went, "Oh my, look at this," because he's going to move on an offline. So while I'm speaking, he's moving, right? And the camera has to kind of go with him because he's changing the geography of the shot.
Oh,
And I'm standing there and I'm like, there's only one tactic that I could be allowed, because obviously Mitchell is essentially at attention. He's stuck there with his superior officer. So my thing was, I can't move at all. I have to be locked, stuck, frozen in order for the cut to work. Otherwise, the scene's not going to work. And I'm like, okay, Beau, it's your scene. This is all about Landry. This is all about you, which is correct. It is the correct thing to do. But the fact that he knew it was correct, and he was doing it, and he was forcing the cut, and he knew how to do it, is literally that's voodoo baseball. That's next level stuff of understanding how an actor can say, this is important, and I'm going to make sure that someone else doesn't mess this up. It's a really smart actor, and I was like, he knows what he's doing. This man's not only a good actor, he knows how film and television is made.
well, that's just
And
it. Yeah.
and you learn from actors like that. You learn. I always watched older, experienced actors to learn the craft. and Beau is a master craftsman. Is a master craftsman.
It's almost 3D chess because he's anticipating how the edit is going to go in post-production, you know.
100%.
So it's which
100%.
And I imagine as a performer, depending on how neurotic you are, you probably can't do that. You know, oh, what's this going to look like later? You have to be in the moment with your fellow performers and making sure that you get every line right, because this is science fiction and it's not easy to do. It's a language all on its own.
It's part of a very complicated dance. You know, if you look at great dancers, they're not just hitting the steps. They're doing that while carrying a performance through the technical side of it. Great actors, experienced actors, if they haven't learned how to do that, then they're missing a very important skill set, because those same techniques that you learn can also teach you how to save time on the day. You know, an experienced actor will come on a set. They can make simple little adjustments, which are going to save you 15, 30 minutes out of your day. And a less experienced or less skilled actor is going to cost you time. And, you know, it's not just, oh, I flubbed a line. It's not, oh, I didn't have a great performance. It's literally, okay, now we got to pick up our lights. We got to move around here. We got to cover this. And there's a technical craft inside all of the other things that you're doing. So with Stargate, they've been doing it for 8 years. They knew what the technical model was. They were very, very attuned to, oh, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, we're going to save money and time here, and then everybody gets to go home on time. Production saves money, makes money for the company, yada, yada, yada. And if I do this, it's going to make the scene better. You learn those tricks over time, and Beau is 100% masterful.
Another master that you had on, whom we recently lost, was Lou Gossett Jr.
Yep.
What an extraordinary man. Those two could have easily played General Landry. I mean, Lou as well. I remember that when season 9 was coming about, the production was really blessed with an embarrassment of riches. It's like, you've got these two people who are interested. Their families apparently watch the show. You know, you've got what do you do with these guys? What was it like with being there with Lou Gossett Jr.? Another maestro.
Yeah, it's a little intimidating. It's a little intimidating, you know. You're like, officer and gentlemen, oh my, that's Lou Gossett Jr. It's one of the great joys that one has is working with people who are just a lot better than you and a lot more experienced than you. I just be like, yeah, you know, I'm playing football, and you know, what, Brett Favre is the quarterback, or Tom Brady's the QB. You know, after a period of time, they just see things that normal human beings don't, and they were talented to begin with. It's really quite a remarkable experience to watch a master at work. It's like going to a great restaurant with a master chef. You know, you're like, man, this food just tastes different.
Yeah. And what can I do to up my game? You know, what can I take away from just observing this, standing back and observing them at play, to make, you know, at the very least, make their jobs a little bit easier if I'm sharing a scene.
Yeah, it's kind of a joy, and you have to trust that you're going to learn something from it, and be humble enough to go, I don't know everything, and what can I learn from this? You know, am I even capable of doing what they're capable of doing? The fact is, I've worked with enough actors where I go, I can't do that. That's just next level stuff. You know, recognizing talent. I'll hesitate to use the word genius, but recognizing talent and expertise in any endeavor requires a certain amount of humility. And if you don't have that after having worked with those people, then I think you may have missed something.
For sure.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm a guy who makes up things for a living. I'm a fantasist, you know. What do I know about reality? I only know what Google wants me to know.
Right, exactly. We're all turning into drones. We got to be careful, man.
I'm just
They're going
working
to be
on
running the place in 50 years.
Working on my epistemic humility, man. That's all. It's like I don't know. I'm sure I don't know. I think my dad knew more than me. My grandma knew more than me. If I make it long enough, maybe I'll get close. I don't, but I'm not. I'm making no pretenses.
For sure. Another one that we lost in the past few years, who was your chief opposition besides the Ori in seasons 9 and 10 was Cliff Simon. Man, that guy knew how to. Man knew how to wear clothes and act and just suck the air out of a room when he spoke. Can you tell me about a little about working with Cliff?
Cliffy was great. He was his performance as Baal was spot on. With Cliff, it was taken far too early. The only thing I can say is at least he was where he loved being, which was he was out in the water windsurfing. And I don't know what happened is a tragedy. And we lost Julian Sands.
Another tragedy.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure he was out where he wanted to be, which was hiking in the mountains. And it's we are here, but a brief period, and it's just I don't know. Cliff was a lovely guy, an interesting conversationalist, a good human being, and what can you say? But at least he was where he wanted to be when he left us.
Absolutely, for sure. Is it Headline 02? What do you think happened to Cam back in the 1930s after he killed Baal? Do you think he settled down? There is a nod at the end of Continuum that that Cameron knows something because he's got the photo in his locker of the two men. How do you interpret that, Ben? I'm curious to know.
I just imagine that he led a life. He led an interesting life and went to all the interesting places that were available to him. If you had knowledge of what's happened in the last 30 years, where would you choose to be? Would you go to Berlin for the fall of the wall? Would you go to these places to witness great acts and great people? That's what I imagine in my head that he did. He went, well, I'm here, so I'm going to make the most of this, and I want to see what happened when Oppenheimer lit off the bomb. It would be a grand adventure. I mean, if you're stuck, you might as well build a cool and interesting life. And then at some point, he might have just said, I'm going to settle down, and Los Angeles is going to be a great place in 1960. I'm going to live there, or whatever it is. There's all these things that happen through time, and if you're stuck, what would you do? Well, I mean, Cameron Mitchell's a bit of an adventurer. I imagine that, he was probably trying to sneak his way into the Air Force and work at Edwards Air Force Base. He was probably trying to get on the ground floor of
test piloting
his name and try to get on the ground floor of the space program. He's probably trying to be a Mercury astronaut if he could help it, but if nothing else, at least be there for the launch. So that's actually, from a Cameron Mitchell standpoint, that would be the series that I'd want to see, was Cameron Mitchell dealing with, the gate and the whole thing in the 40s, 50s, and 60s. Yeah, I think that would be cool
because the Air Force had it. So,
yeah, like there's a lot of cool stuff that's actually happened in history. Cameron Mitchell at the Bay of Pigs. I don't know. I think there's and if it's not Stargate, I think there's a potential cool series elsewhere where someone, the typical thing is you time hop, right? It's the quantum leap thing.
Right.
I don't know that I've seen a series where someone is just stuck and they can't get back. and they know that they can't go back because there's another version of them anyway. And I think it's interesting story.
I'm going to deliberately tell a tale out of school here. I think it's been long enough, but I was a part of the marketing team for Stargate Origins, and that is a story that takes place just before Captain Mitchell and the Achilles pick up the Stargate, and in the last scene of that film, the Achilles crew is packing up the gate, and in the background you can see personnel who are dressed in the exact same, pretty close clothes of that crew. And I remember talking with a bunch of the other folks at MGM at the time. We have got to get Ben in for a cameo, and it was just such a lost opportunity. Were you made aware of that? I couldn't just call you and ask. We were trying to. There was politics, and do you recall this at all?
Yeah, I remember when that was happening, and I think that I can't remember. I can't remember how it didn't unfold. I think that there was material sent that was there was material that was sent about it that was like, no, it's just a cameo. It's not Mitchell. And I went, no, it needs to be written as Mitchell. Otherwise, the fan base is just not going to accept it. I felt that whatever it was that was presented was out of canon, to be honest, and that was like it was unclear in the material. Wait, is this the captain of the Antilles? Because that's who Mitchell would be, right? That's who he was. And it was like, no, this is just a this and this. I went, well, that's not canon. I don't want to be a part of something which is not canon. So that was my understanding at the time.
Oh, okay. So you were presented an offer.
I don't know if it was an offer or just, are you interested or what? I don't remember. I don't remember all the details of it.
Okay, man, that would have been a cool opportunity.
I'm sure that you know that, like, you know, the chain of whispers gets contorted by the time it gets to my doorstep. I just was unsure as to whether it was what it was and whether it was part of canon or not.
Absolutely.
No, that's kind of weird that I would be like obsessed with canon, but you know, my interaction with fan bases of Stargate and of Farscape over the years makes me very respectful of the audience and you know, the continuation of the story, and I didn't want to break that.
Yeah, it's your work. You know, you can be a little bit protective of it. There's nothing wrong with that.
It's not my work. It's the work of thousands of people over time, and it's the inheritance of millions of people who watch the show. So you know, you're protecting a story that's in my head and in the writer's head, but also in the head of the audience.
For sure.
I never want to be sloppy with that.
For sure. Jeremy Heiner, do you have any memories of the Atlantis crossover when you were walking over to Stage 5 to do Atlantis for season 10, the Pegasus project, I believe it was?
Yeah, although technically that was an SG-1. I never did it. I think I'm the only person in SG-1 that didn't. The only full member of SG-1 never crossed over.
Claudia didn't either, but yeah, there's
yeah, but technically she was outside the chain of command.
Okay.
Yeah, no, you know, that chain of command is very important. Yeah, no, it was fun to go over and play with them for sure, and it was interesting, kind of treading in their territory.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Cameron, I apologize, Cameron. Ben, do you have a favorite Stargate episode that you filmed aside from Antarctica?
Oh, yeah, I really enjoyed the season enders from season 9, where I got to roll in the mud and swing a sword. and be a 9-year-old boy swinging a sword. Not particularly well, but like that day, and when we came to do the interiors after we had shot in the mud, and I was so caked in mud and filth, literally in preparation for shooting the interior scenes. They go, yeah, just go outside and roll in the mud and come back in. And so I would go outside, I roll around in the mud. This is the high level of art that we're about. That was authentic Vancouver mud on me in the interiors that had dried up.
Was it supposed to be that muddy? I've forget.
No, I don't know what they had thought. It was 3-inch thick muck. It was hard to stand up and move. But I just remember having a great time with that, and I enjoyed a lot of it because I had a great opportunity to kind of be with Mike and banter with Mike and us work together. There was a certain part, not only were they keeping Claudia and I separate, there was a certain element of keeping Mike and I separate because they were afraid that the audience wouldn't be able to discriminate which one of us was the middle-aged white dude. And Mike was not middle-aged, so he's younger than me by a decade plus. It's just like, how can you not tell us apart? I know white guys look alike, but so it was sporadic that Michael and I got to spend time, and I felt that we had an easy and comfortable working relationship, and we could banter back and forth.
What was
and
it? Absolutely, and it was fun to watch. What was it like doing the old age makeup for Unending?
Well, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Varying degrees of uncomfortable.
Did you look in the mirror and see family members?
Yeah, there's a bit of my uncle in it when I look at it. I go, yeah, it's a little bit like my uncle. Mostly around here, you really start to notice that, and you go, oh, I'm that crazy guy. Where am I going to end up?
The Time Prophet wanted to know, did you feel a little bit like Wayne? Is it Pygram from Pygram from Farscape with all those hours as Scorpius?
That was on Farscape, and I was dressed as Scorpius. Did I feel like Wayne Pygram? I have no idea how Wayne Pygram feels.
Yeah.
But I certainly discovered that when you're in a heavy prosthetic, anytime you're in a really, really weird prosthetic, people treat you completely differently. Wow. And it's a bit of a shock to the system. So if you're in old age makeup, when I'm in old age makeup and I'm coming out of my trailer, if someone had come to fetch me, which sometimes happened, the AD would be holding their hand out to help me down the steps reflexively. And you go, oh, so this is what it's like to be 90 something years old. People view you differently. If you're in a prosthetic and you look like an evil alien, there's a human being inside the suit, but people stop treating you like a human being. They treat you completely differently. It's a bit like if you grow a really big feral beard during COVID and people see you, they react differently to you. You're like, people, why are people giving me extra room when I walk through the supermarket?
It's your force field. Did you grow out a beard?
Oh, I periodically grow beards, mustaches, whatever. Yeah, I had a true COVID feral face. It's massive. Yeah. Wild looking. Nobody in LA was getting a haircut.
Right.
And they put the guy that did my haircut out of business. You couldn't go get your haircut. So, I had wild hair and a big furry beard. And people avoid you. Same thing happens when you're in a heavy prosthetic. People treat you strange. It's a little deranging because you get used to how people react to you and your face and your demeanor and your age and all of these things that when it quickly shifts, people react to you differently, and it's disconcerting.
Mm-hmm. Carlos Takeshi. Where is Cameron now? Cameron Prime?
Cameron Prime.
Yeah, where do you think he is? Do you think he is
Prime or Secundus? Well, technically speaking, Cameron would be at the end of his Air Force career.
Okay. So general.
Yeah, if he stayed in.
Yeah.
Let me think. How old is Cameron now? He's 35, so he's 50. Yeah, Cameron's
69.
approaching. Yeah. So Cameron's at the tail end of his Air Force career, which means and I'm assuming he stayed in. So there's a lot of options. He could be in Washington. He could be he could be
flying a ship.
He could still be a colonel. I mean, he could still be a colonel. Specialized. He could be running the SGC, which is very likely he'd come back for a tour doing that. It just depends on where he is in the cycle. You know, that's one of the things that happens in the military is for a while you're in the saddle and then you're in the seat, you know, you're in the comfy chair. And you know, there's a lot of different places you could end up, you know, who knows, you know, seriously, you know, if you coming out of the SGC with that kind of classified stuff, you could end up in spec ops and, you know, running a shop, although at a much higher level, or not. I don't know. Good question.
Do you think
I don't think he's Tom Cruise. I don't think I don't think that he's Maverick, where somehow he's managed to avoid promotion. And so, yeah, I think a stint running Stargate Command would be a realistic thing.
Do you hope he's found love?
Well, how do we know he hadn't already found love? And
that's true. Well, yeah. The
like,
Amy Vandenberg stuff, you know, in Bounty, you know, he was smooching on her pretty strong, and there was a seed for the future, you know, that they were going to stay in touch. I hope that he's happy.
Yeah, you know, I hope so, or I hope at least his life is interesting. You know, maybe he's down, you know, running a weapons school in Nellis. I don't know.
Last one.
I don't know. I like to think that he's making an adventurous use of his time.
Yeah, for sure.
Both Prime and Secundus.
We're gonna wrap up with moderator Tracy. I just wanted to say thank you for being here today. It was such a treat. I thought you made seasons 9 and 10 absolutely phenomenal. You and Claudia were great. Any projects that you were currently working on? Anything that you want to let us know about to keep our ears to the ground?
No, I'm actually going to go do some work here at the end of the month, but until the cut is in, I don't.
Okay.
I don't generally talk about things. I once signed a Marvel NDA, and it scared me so much that I generally don't talk about what's coming up. It'll come out when it comes out, and and I haven't what's on the schedule. I haven't shot yet, so I don't know. So no, I'm not flogging. I'm not flogging product. I'm here to talk about Stargate. Speaking of which, I was at a track meet yesterday, and standing there, and there's another coach standing there, and he looks at me and he goes, "You been Browder?" I said, "Yeah, I am." And he goes, "Stargate, man, Stargate." So I got a question: is there going to be more Stargate? And I'll give you the answer I gave him. I was like, I don't know. that was the first question out of his mouth, was that. And then we talked about the show and for about 10 minutes. And it's what a privilege it is to be standing somewhere and somebody goes, Stargate. Oh, let's talk about Stargate.
Yep. Absolutely. There is something about it that people continue to resonate with. I think that you guys created work that means things to people and is also entertaining. And when you can cross those two things together, it's really cool.
Yeah, no, it was a good experience on the day, and it's been a great experience running through life. So I'm very privileged. I'm very grateful for the experience that I've had with the show and with the fandom, and it's what a remarkable thing.
Ben, I'm glad we got to catch up. I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, David, thank you, man. I appreciate catching up. Next time we'll do it in a park again.
I'll come out and see you for sure. You take care of yourself, all right?
I will do the best I can. You too, and enjoy living in Nashville. Do your fans know you live in Nashville?
Yes, they do. Yeah, I
didn't want to out you. I didn't want to out you as like a refugee.
Oh, you want to know something funny? I came about a few years ago. I was in a subway and I was talking with someone behind the counter about podcasts and everything else, and I mentioned Stargate, and one of the guys making my sandwich went, "David." What are the odds?
Podcasts are an amazing thing, and you were doing them before podcasts were a thing.
Yeah, you touch people and you never realize it. So
it's a remarkable existence that we are encountering. Right. Who knows what's next?
Absolutely, Ben. You be well, sir. You take care of yourself, okay?
Thank you, David. I appreciate it, man. Be good.
Be well. Ben Browder, everyone. Cameron Mitchell in Stargate SG-1. I got to talk with him before the show, I think, even went into production for season 9. And I called him, and I think he was in the middle of his rewatches. Just absolutely cool. Absolutely cool guy. Appreciate you all tuning in. We've got coming down the pipe next week, episode 250. This is going to be David Hewlett and Kate Hewlett. Rodney McKay and Jeannie Miller are going to be joining us for our 250th episode live this coming Saturday, May the 25th. If you enjoyed this episode and you want to see more content like this on YouTube, please hit that like button. It does make a difference with the show and will continue to help us grow our audience. And if you want to please share this video with a Stargate friend. Please consider that. And if you want to get notified about future episodes, click the subscribe icon. And giving the bell icon a click will notify you a moment a new video drops, and you'll get my notifications of any last-minute guest changes. And clips from this live stream will be released over the course of the next several days on both the Dial the Gate and GateWorld.net YouTube channels. Sommer, are you still with me? So, Sommer, I have something that, and Sommer, turn on your camera, and Ben, you can see this too. I don't usually do these at the end of the show, but Sommer, you came across something really cool.
We usually go to this little stand that makes dragons. They're little silicone dragons, and we kind of started a little collection. So we always go by and see if there's anything new. Well, yesterday when we went by, I spotted something and I pointed it out to my husband. I'm like, oh my gosh, look. And the attendant there, she goes, Stargate. And I went, yeah, you know Stargate? And she's started talking all kinds of fandom jive, and she looked at me kind of confused, and I went, wait, do you know Stargate? She goes, no, that's just the name of our model. and this is the model that she showed me. And it's of course a Goa'uld parasite, but she didn't know the show. She just knew that this was the name of the model that they sold, because she wasn't the maker of
Isn't
of
that
dragon.
cool?
So, yeah.
But they've got an actual Goa'uld, and you can wrap this around your hand, right?
Yeah, you can wrap it around. It's a little flexible, so you see people with it wrapped around their arm like that. And so,
Wow.
yeah, it was really neat. And they're based out of Houston, and it's called Dragon Pets. So you can go to dragonpets.com or their Instagram, which is My Dragon Pets.
Yep.
And I don't think that the Goa'ulds are out on their website just yet because they're a new model, but they do have their contact info listed there.
Yep.
So you can write them and ask if you want to purchase one of these little guys, but they're so cute. So
That's it. Well, thank you.
As long as it doesn't attack me in my sleep, I'll be okay.
Yeah, no, or you don't wake up with glowing eyes. So,
Right.
hey, there's that. Thank you, Sommer. I'm David
Sure.
Reed for Dial the Gate, and we will see you on the other side.